lavish! Ah!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Not the Bees, the Nicolas Cage filmography podcast. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Megs.
And this week we watched 2000's The Family Man, starring Nicolas Cage and Leoni. It has 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's directed by Brett Ratner, which is the first thing that is shocking about this movie. We open on an airport. Jack and Kate are saying goodbye. He's heading to England for an internship, and she's about to start at a law school. As Jack starts walking to the gate, Kate stops him and begs him to stay. He says he loves her and that a year apart won't change that, and he leaves. Cut to 13 years later. Jack is some kind of corporate something in the realm of acquiring companies, and he's real strict about taking people's time at Christmas for this multi-billion-dollar deal to go through on December 26th. On his way home on Christmas Eve, he stops to buy eggnog at a bodega and gets held up by a guy named Cash, played by Don Cheadle, over a fake lottery ticket. Jack makes a deal with him to buy the ticket from him instead, and they leave. Jack tries to talk Cash into turning his life around, but Cash disagrees and leaves with an ominous, "You brought this on yourself." Jack gets home and goes to bed, only to wake up in a bed that isn't his, in a house that's not his, and Kate is snuggled next to him. Then 2 kids and a dog come barreling in. It's Christmas morning. Jack quickly dresses to attempt to leave, but Kate wants coffee, and he's walking downstairs. Her parents walk in. He goes outside, and his car is gone. He takes Kate's minivan and drives to his apartment building in the city, but no one recognizes him. So he goes to his office, but his name is no longer listed in the directory. As he leaves, he's about to be run over by his own Ferrari, but the driver is Cash. He tells Jack to get in, and he'll explain everything. Cash tells Jack that the way he intervened in the robbery was a good thing, but he's getting a glimpse of something. Jack is confused, asks how to get his life back, and Cash tells him he has to figure it out. Cash drops Jack back at the minivan and gives him a bicycle bell with no explanation that tricks him into getting out of the car so he can drive off without further explanation. Jack drives back toward the house he woke up in, but gets lost and stops for directions. But the person he asks is apparently his buddy Arnie. Arnie thinks he's losing it, tries to inspire Jack to see what he's got. Great wife, 2 kids, big house. Jack goes back into the house and Kate is in a state. She's called all over looking for him. Jack tries to explain to her what's happening. Kate doesn't believe him. He tries to use the bell, but one of the kids comes in on her new bike and takes it and thanks Dad for the bell. Now he has to get ready for a party or he's going to have to stay home and watch the kids, so he goes and gets ready. At the party, Jack learns Kate is a nonprofit lawyer and seems really upset by that. The next day, Jack's on dad duty. Of the 2 kids, one is 5, her name is Annie, and the other is a toddler, Josh, who is nonverbal. Annie, point blank, asks if he's not her dad, and he tells her the truth. She asks where her dad is. He doesn't know, but he promises her that her dad loves her and will be back soon. She does a very cute inspection of his face and says that the aliens did a good job making him look like her dad. She makes him promise not to kidnap her and her brother and then welcomes him to Earth. As he's dropping her off at winter camp, she tells him that he works for her granddad selling tires. Back at home, Jack sees on the news that the deal he was working on his whole life has gone through, and his associate, Mintz, played by Saul Rubinek, closed the deal. Kate comes in declaring that the kids are asleep and she wants to have her way with him. They don't end up doing the deed. She goes to the bathroom and he falls asleep, but he's only pretending. The next day they go to the mall, and Jack starts being snippy about shopping, so Kate takes the kids and tells him to stay in the men's department. So he goes to try on a suit. Kate comes back and says that he looks very nice in the suit. He wants to buy it, but it's $2,400, and she's like, "Come on, let's go to the food court." He says no and spouts off about how shitty his new life is. How could she do this to him? Make him give up all his dreams. This argument is also in front of the kids and the store staff. On the drive home, Jack tries to justify his behavior, and Kate seems to just kind of take it. Apparently, everything in their lives went sideways when she got pregnant, and her dad had a heart attack, and that's why he works at the tire shop. Now he's bowling. He's in a league on a team named after the tire shop, and he has a bad game that he thinks is going good. But then he runs into the neighbor that threw the party and asks if they've slept together, and they make plans to do the deed. Then he tells Arnie, and asks for her address. Arnie is baffled. Jack says that it's not really cheating. Those rules don't apply to me. Arnie tells him Kate is amazing and not to fuck it up. Jack goes home. There's a cute minute where he chases Kate to get a piece of cake from her and they almost have sex, but she wants him to say things she likes and he says the wrong things, so she walks away and goes to bed. Jack goes to drink and watch home videos. There appears to be some passage of time, and it's now their anniversary, and she got him a suit from the secondhand store, but she thinks it'll look great on him. And then when it's her turn, she realizes that he forgot, and she's really bummed. Jack consults his daughter and comes up with a plan to take Kate into the city. He takes her to a restaurant he's familiar with in his other life and orders an extravagant dinner, and they dance and eat, and then Jack decides to tell her about what's going on with him. They talk about having an easier life and what their lives would be without each other. She tells him that him and the kids are the things that she's sure about. He's also gotten them a hotel room for the night. They have champagne. She's no longer mad, and they forget that he forgot the anniversary. They go to bed. Now it's February. Jack goes to work, and while he's selling tires, someone from his other life, a man named Lassiter, pulls up with a blown tire, and Jack decides not only to take care of him, but he also decides to tell him the deal that Mintz made cost the deal $10 billion. Lassiter tells Jack to drop the car off himself when he's ready and takes Jack up to meet Mintz. This becomes an impromptu interview. Jack swears to them, using info he fully knows about him, that he can do this job given the chance. Lassiter and Mintz also show Jack around, and Mintz calls him on his knowledge and threatens him with firing him when Lassiter gets bored, but Jack takes it all in stride. Next, Jack shows Kate a really nice mansion. He explains that the house is a perk of the big company. They can stay there rent-free and he'll make lots of money. They argue. He wants a life other than that other people envy. She says people already do envy them. Back at the house, Jack has a drink and ruminates while looking at pictures. He finds his old ticket stub to England. He went, but came back the very next day. Kate enters and talks about that surprise and what she envisioned her life would be like with him in that house growing old. She says that if this new job is what he needs, she'll do it. The next day, he and Annie are outside making play in the snow, and Annie looks at him and says she knew he'd be back. Later in the day, Annie goes to put her bike away and rings the bell, and then Jack goes to the store and Cash is there. Jack tells Cash he's not sending him back. He doesn't want to go, but Cash reminds him that it's a glimpse, it's not permanent. Jack goes home, looks in on the kids, and has a cryptic conversation with Kate about remembering him, and then takes the dog for a walk. He comes back and sits in a chair, watching Kate sleep, trying to stay awake, but he loses the fight and wakes up in a bed in his apartment to a phone call. There's a woman at the door with lingerie on that says Merry Christmas. He runs out and drives to Kate's house in New Jersey, where he's just spent the last few months, but she doesn't live there. Back in the car, the phone rings. It's the office, and he's late for his emergency Christmas Day meeting that he forced the office to hold. He gets there, and it's mayhem. There's a problem with their big deal. Jack tells him to calm down and find out what happened. He'll fly to Aspen, where the person causing the issue is, to convince him not to fuck up the deal, and then he'll spend Christmas alone, because that's what his life is, and he can't change it. In the car on the way to the airport, he calls information to find Kate's number and address and goes inside. It looks like moving day. She's going to Paris. Looks like she called him the day before because she has a box of his stuff and wanted to return it. He tries to get her to go for coffee. He asks if she ever thinks of them. She tells him to look her up when he's in Paris, and they'll get coffee there. Jack leaves and decides to go to his apartment and go through the box even though he'll be late for his flight. He finds a photo strip of the two of them and makes a choice to drive like hell to the airport to stop Kate from getting on her plane. He begs her to go get coffee, but she says she can't, she's fine, and she needs to go. He tells her about their house in New Jersey and the kids and their life. He begs her to stay for one coffee. She can go to Paris anytime. She says okay. They sit in a lounge in the airport talking in the dark and snow falling outside and the credits roll. The end. Megan, what did you think about this movie?
I think this movie was trying to be very cute, and in some respects, in a couple of ways, they did succeed in that. But this movie is trash. This movie is not good.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's trash.
I mean,
this movie
it's
falls
kinda garbage.
into a subset of Christmas movies called Let's See What Your Life Would Be Like If You Weren't Such an Asshole.
Yeah.
And it's Charles Dickens' A Christmas Story. It's
Literally.
Scrooged. It's, it's been done before. I thought the performances were good. I liked Taya Leoni. I thought she was good. I thought Nick Cage was good. I thought the girl that played Annie was great.
Yeah.
But I thought that having a 6-year-old explain the adult plot was a choice.
That was definitely a decision. Mm-hmm.
Don Cheadle was amazing.
Listen, I agree with you on the point of the performance. I think that everyone came and they gave everything they had. It was honestly the only reason I think that the movie is watchable. I have no problems with the performances. I have a really big problem with the writing and the plot holes.
Yeah.
Those are my issues. So, I mean, it's not trash. I mean, I guess. I mean, it's a little bit garbage, but, garbage adjacent. I'll call it that. Is that fair? It's like something in your garage that you've been meaning to throw away or take to the Goodwill for like 12 years, but it just sits there. So it's garbage adjacent. You don't want it anymore. You don't need it for anything.
There's a scene in the beginning where he is walking around in his underwear singing opera, and I was wondering, how long did you pass out for when you saw that scene?
I don't remember. No, I didn't pass out, but I was watching it and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this movie one time before. I forgot that he was just so naked in his apartment in those scenes.
Yeah.
Because he is. Almost the entire time that he's in his New York penthouse apartment, he's just walking around in underwear.
And Megan gets the vapors.
I do get a little bit of the vapors.
I don't like how his life with Kate is so diminished. It goes from, okay, you're not necessarily going to be a lord of finance anymore, but you're selling tires, retail, and she makes no money because she's a nonprofit lawyer. And how did you afford this house? How do you afford these kids?
Well, let's also remember, that's the writing. That's what it comes down to. Because later in the movie, when Peter Lassiter shows up with the busted tire in his, very old fucking car.
Rolls Royce.
Yeah, it's a really old Rolls. He has this conversation with Lassiter when they get back to New York after he drops the car off, where he's telling them about the tire company brought in $1.7 million the previous year. They're projected to come in over $2 million for this year in profit. He talks about contracts that he has. So it's not like this is like a dinky little homegrown used tire operation. This is a large scale commercial industry store that he works at. This is not a mom and pop shop for personal cars. I mean, they do personal cars, but they also do a lot of commercial work. He was talking about some contract that he had just signed with a giant interstate trucking company. So the entire this movie's 2 hours and 5 minutes long. For the first, I want to say 90 minutes, you're expected to believe that the kind of money he's bringing in is rinky dink, and it's just not.
Yeah.
The money he makes from that tire shop allows Kate to be a nonprofit lawyer who makes almost no money.
Exactly.
And own this, this giant house with 2.5 bathrooms, I think Arnie had said. Let's also remember it's 2000 at the time.
Yeah.
So 2000 money is a lot different from 2024 money.
You could buy a 4-bedroom house with 2.5 baths for pocket change back in the year 2000, apparently.
Well, compared to today, yeah, for sure. At least have a down payment. He said that there was 122 payments left on their mortgage and it would be theirs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's clearly mortgaged, but they definitely make enough money with what he brings in from the tire shop to have afforded that house.
Yeah.
And they make it seem like they're destitute. And yeah, a $2,400 suit is probably a little bit too much. Had it been $700 or $800 though, they probably could have swung it with no problem.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it comes down to the writing. It was also really annoying to me how unresponsive Kate was to him being an enormous fucking asshole.
You know, I guess you kind of get into those, you know, married for 13 years. He's just going through something. I'm just going to roll with it and take the punches and just deal with this later. Kind of that I didn't believe that that was unrealistic. What I did find unrealistic was when he meets with Lassiter and Lassiter offers him a job and he shows Kate into this penthouse where they're going to be able to live rent free while they look for a place in the city that the firm is going to put them up in. And she starts throwing a fucking like tantrum.
Yeah, that too.
How dare you go and look for a new job? And what do you mean we would move here? We have a house. We blah, 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 blah. She was being completely unreasonable. Especially everything that had given everything that had come before that in the movie, where he has spoken to her multiple times at this point about being unhappy with his life and about where his life is at. And he's showing her, I want this.
Right.
And
you've clearly seen I'm unhappy. I'm trying to make a change.
And she's throwing a tantrum.
Yeah. And again, I think this comes down to the writing, because there's a conversation that they have in the car on the way back from the mall after he's blown up at her in the men's section, in the men's department, about when things changed and the reason that they moved back to Jersey, because she found out she was pregnant and her father had a heart attack. So they moved out of the city. It was better for the kids and it was closer to her parents. So like, if it had been a situation where she's arguing for, no, I don't want to be here. She did mention the kids, but the other aspect is her father. If she had added him to the argument, I don't necessarily think that would have been over the top. But like, what's the point of us discussing her father having a heart attack if we're never going to talk about it again? If it's the basis for where they live, it's part of the plot and it's integral. So why isn't that part of her argument?
Right.
I also think that it's strange that why did it take them so long to have kids? Like, they'd been married for like 7 years at this point before she got pregnant. Why was that a surprise? They would have both been out of school. They would have both been married. It didn't look like they were pursuing other things. I don't know. I don't think that the writing in this movie was very good. The acting was great. I love anytime I see Don Cheadle. He's such a treat. And he comes and he leaves everything on the table. I've never seen a performance from Don Cheadle that I think I've been disappointed in. If anyone wants to leave a comment about a movie that they might think that I would hate by Don Cheadle, please let me know. I'll watch it. I got nothing but time. I also really, I enjoyed everyone's performances. I enjoyed the performances in the big boardroom when they were at the company at the beginning. I enjoyed Nick Cage's performance and the way that he was able to switch from being an absolute piece of human garbage into a loving and caring person that like was just kind of like fish out of water situation. I enjoyed all of those things. Leoni is adorable.
I thought the scene where Cash is driving him around in the Ferrari, Nicolas Cage is so over the top. I was just like embarrassed to be watching him.
Yeah. I mean, that was really hard for me too. And I had to pause it a couple of times and just tell myself, like, listen, this guy just woke up. He's been awake for a couple of hours. His entire life is completely different. Would you react like this too? Maybe.
All right, that's fair.
And like, okay, push play, but it still felt a little too much. It felt a little bit too much.
So what would we rate this movie, Megan?
I'm going to be really honest with you. I did not like this movie. So if I just look at it as merit, acting wise was good. The writing was really terrible. I didn't really like the pacing of it very much. This movie felt very dry.
It did feel very dry and it did feel too long.
So I would probably give this movie, if I put my feelings aside, I think it's a C.
Yeah, a C is exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
What do we give the caginess of it?
It's not his best effort. So much of me wants to give him a D. I think that's just what it feels like when I think about this movie. I think it when I think about it, I feel like it's a D.
I would give him a C.
Would you?
I would say it was a middle of the road pedestrian outing for him.
Okay.
There's not a lot to work with in the script. I think he plays both roles well, both the, captain of industry, but also the subtle family man.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll defer to you. We can give it a C.
We can give it a C-. How's that?
Okay, that's fair. I agree with that.
So there you have it, folks. It's a straight down the middle, hey, Merry Christmas to you movie.
Yeah. Yep, it's a holiday tale that's been done dozens of times now, and it's definitely not as good as Scrooged.
It's been done better.
It's been done much, much better. But that's our first holiday.
That's our first holiday movie.
So happy holidays, everybody.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So that's it for this week, folks. If you like what we're doing, you can follow along on Instagram at NotTheBeesPod. If you want to kick us a few bucks, you can see us on patreon.com/NotTheBees. And that's it for this holiday season. I've been Elizabeth.
And I've been Megs.
And we'll see you next week.